Hello everyone, and welcome to the best channel following our family on YouTube. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited. Thank you so much for all the engagement on the last video and all the support and the comments and the likes. It really is appreciated. And here we are with another video, so let's get right back into it. There we go. We're back. Now, here is my pile of failure. Usually after we fail, we're left with a big mess. So I'm going to get started with cleaning this up. And in the meantime, I thought I could tell you a little bit about the pump itself and what we've actually been doing so far. So the pump isn't here, it's back at the house because I've been working on it in the workshop. So why don't you head on over there and I'll get started with this. Oh, you made it. Good to see you. Well, I know what you're wondering. How does this pump actually work? Well, you're in luck, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about now.
I found this great animation, which I'll link at the bottom. You can check it out later from the comments, and it shows the inner workings of the pump. So I'm going to use this to demonstrate so you can see what we're thinking about here. Now, this design is a general design for hand pumps. It's not exactly the one that we're using, so we'll go over the differences afterwards. But the important thing is the two parts that we have here, which are this part, the top one-way valve, and the bottom one-way valve. So these two valves, along with a vacuum inside, are what make the pump actually work. So what happens is, as the pump pulls up, you can see that it draws in water from the bottom through the one-way valve, and as soon as the pump pushes back down, the water seals the valve. So the water gets stuck there, and as the top valve is now open, the water can pass through above. And that is the action that's repeated. So as it pulls up, the bottom valve lets more water in, and as it pushes back down, the bottom valve gets stopped and the top valve opens up to allow the water to pass through. So here you can see how it works, and that's the basic mechanism for this sort of hand pump.
So this pump is a hand pump, a very simple design, and it's made up of two main parts. This inner part, which we'll go over, and we have the outer tube. So what we have here are the two main parts of the actual pump, and these two working together are what draw the water up.
We've mentioned the valves enough. How about we start talking about how I made them? Because I'm pretty pleased with this part. So I didn't have access to valves since I didn't have any on hand, and rather than buying them, which I wanted to keep the amount of parts we had to buy to a minimum, I decided to attempt to make one myself. And I had been looking into this for over a year. One-way valves, have to make them, and there's various designs. So I decided to try my own sort of method. I had an old bicycle that had actually sort of been in a fire and was unusable, and a lot of the rubber had melted, but luckily the tire was still usable for this project. And so I had an old sink that had been replaced, and we had the drain, and this is what I cut to use as the just pre-made filter. And the other parts that I had were just a washer, a basic screw, and a nut to seal it on the other end. This is part of the inner tube, which I cut into roughly the right shape, and I actually eventually cut into a perfect circle that would actually seal it properly. Once I'd sort of sealed it all together, when water pushed from underneath, it didn't take much force to bend the rubber, and the water could pass through quite easily. And as soon as the weight of the water was standing on top, it would seal it right up. So you can see here with the finished design, I did put some electrical tape just to sort of hold it a little bit. This whole design is a prototype, and we'll get to why it actually failed in the practical test, and how we're going to fix that. So what we see here is how it's all fit together in the end, and the problem was that when it went onto the land, it actually did pretty well in beginning to suck some water up, pump the water up, but very quickly it stopped pumping, and I had a real problem understanding what the problem could be, and it was really difficult, and I had no idea what the problem was. Since this was all a prototype, it could be a million things, any part of the design, the valves could be not working, and This was the problem. No, it's not what you think. It's actually compacted, sealed clay and mud. And this was what I found clogged in the middle of the pump when I opened it up to have a look. And so if we go back in time and see how I approached this in the first place.
That's all the clay and sand that's here, you know, there's a lot of it at the bottom. So we're going to have a filter obviously at the pump, on the pump, to try and stop some of it.
Yes, famous last words indeed. Well, this whole thing is a prototype and it's all been guessing work from the beginning. So I have to say that I did assume something like this would happen along the way. And if you look further on, you can see the first sort of filter, which isn't much of a filter, and I'm going to put another filter on top of it later. So yes, I said I would put another filter underneath. I ended up just using the bottom part to try and filter water straight into the pump, but it wasn't a filter. As you can see, it was just too big of holes to let all of that clay in, and very, very quickly it just stuck together, got plugged up in the middle, and the pump stopped working. Now that I know what the problem is, I can hopefully fix it, which I've removed the clay, put on some proper filters, ones that will actually be store-bought, so we'll add that to the list of materials, but I think it's worth it investing for this kind of job. Now I'm going to be taking down what was there, the whole structure that was barely standing, and in fact let's head back there now and hear a little more about all of that.
Whew. So now do you feel like you understand a little bit more about the water pump, how it works? I've been working hard at trying to clear my mess. Let me show you how that looked. And so now all that's left is to carry on rebuilding the structure from the ground up. Much simpler design, much more suitable, and hopefully much more stable. And that will be a big step towards actually completing the first phase of this whole water pump design. The second phase after this is going to be the water filter that will allow us to actually drink the water safely. And we'll talk about that when we get to it in an upcoming video. And of course, after all of that is finished and done and we have clean drinking water from our spring, I want to start building a small windmill that we'll be able to use to mechanically pump the water. There's a lot to talk about the design when it comes to wind turbines, what design is best. You can see that here, the wind turbines in Portugal, they've only got 3 blades. They're massive, extremely tall, quite dangerous, and not very suitable for our needs. They're made for constant electricity generation. And since we're going to be using mechanical power, we're actually going to have a different design. We're not going to be very high up, it's going to be rather low, but you can already see that we get a lot of gentle winds, pretty constant throughout the year, throughout the day, but not very strong. So we're going to talk about those design requirements and how we're going to tackle that in the next videos to come. I'm going to start clearing all of this mess so that we don't have it just sitting here rotting. So I'll get back to this. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something. I wanted to get a quick video out this time just to be able to get back into the swing of things. And from now on, hopefully we're going to be starting to do them more consistently and really to see some progress on the land. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I got to get back to work. It was great seeing you. Come back again. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do, because otherwise you're going to miss out. Love you. Bye.